RJ Ochoa. You've heard him with us before. Covers the Dallas Cowboys, bloggingtheboys.com. And we thought we would check in with him now here on Ruskin and Zach. The Cowboys play a preseason game tonight out in Arizona at 9 p.m. Central Time. And then what's going on with Dak Prescott? So RJ's with us now. Hey, RJ, good afternoon.
How's it going, guys? Great to be with you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you so much for the time. So what is going on with this shoulder, arm, whatever it is with Dak Prescott right now?
It's been an interesting couple of weeks, obviously, with the muscle strain and with a lot of action happening. I think, the Cowboys, as you know, obviously always have a lot of attention on them, but the fact that they were in the Pro Football Hall of Fame games, one of the first teams to be seen. They were on Hard Knocks. They played in the season opener. I mean, if you can believe it, the magnifying glass that they're under has grown this particular lead up to the season. And so I think that this is, again, not normal, but this is sort of run-of-the-mill. And I think because it's Dak, because he's coming off the injury, it's something that everybody has an interest in. What I keep thinking about is when he had his press conference to reveal his new contract with the team, he talked about how he realizes the financial commitment that the team has made to him and that he has to be smart with that. He has to be careful. He has to understand when it's worth going for certain things or whatever the case may be. And so I think that, that attitude and that disposition has led to him and the team just kind of erring on the side of caution in every capacity.
So what is the alert level around the Cowboys? They open with the Buccaneers in a couple of weeks. And Dak he's not going to play tonight. He didn't play last week. Are we going to see him this preseason, or are they just going to shelve him until the season starts?
This preseason's so interesting, and I'm fascinated to see how the rest of the games take place or take hold this week, just because we're new with this. There's only 3 games, and there's this bye week. And so I think all of our conventional wisdom as far as understanding, the third week to be kind of the dress rehearsal, I think that's maybe not out the window, but it's definitely been impacted by the change. And so I don't know which game the Cowboys value the most, whether it's next week, which would be their third preseason game, or the final one, which would be 2 weeks from now against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which would be 2 weeks before the regular season opener. The Cowboys have said that the plan is to play Dak next week. And so I lean towards next week being kind of their heavier dress rehearsal, so to speak. And so, Dak's getting an MRI on Monday, and until then, people are going to hold their breath. But it does seem like that is more of a check-in to make sure to justify all of the progress that they think he's experiencing.
We're talking with RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com here on Ruskin and Zach. Cowboys-Cardinals tonight, NFL preseason out in the desert in Arizona. So possibly back next week. And I guess if you want to look at the other side of this, is no setbacks with the leg. This is a totally unrelated deal. So there's got to be something to be positive about there, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a nice way to put it. And that's, I think that it's so hard to have somebody experience like a massive injury like that kind of year to year. If somebody's hurt, it's generally some other ailment, some other knee, some other arm, some other situation, and that's why I think we're seeing the muscle strain. But as far as the ankle is concerned, all does seem well, thankfully.
Yeah. I want to ask you about Micah Parsons, because if there was a position that the Cowboys didn't need when they went into the draft, it was linebacker. And then they draft Parsons, they draft Jabril Cox out of LSU. They have Jalen Smith, they've got Vander Esch. That's probably the deepest position on the field. Is this just a symptom of this is the best player available at the time, or they got bigger plans for those other 2 guys?
It was such an interesting first round in that, the Cowboys had their eye on and had been so connected to both of the top corners, Patrick Surtain, who went 1 pick before them to Denver, and J.C. Horn, who went 1 pick before that to Carolina. And so, I think the plan was really thrown out the window, right, when the Cowboys were on the clock. And I do think that Micah Parsons was the best available player for their overall needs. I think that they were able to maximize value by trading back with the Eagles and picking up another third-round pick. They were able to keep Devontae Smith away from the New York Giants, who might be closer than the Philadelphia Eagles. But ultimately, while the Cowboys do have a lot of options at linebacker, it's a position that is unfortunately in massive need of an overhaul. They did not pick up Leighton Vander Esch's 5th-year option a couple of days after the draft ended, which signified, the Cowboys are saying that Leighton's a big part of their plans for the future. But if he were, they would have committed that $9 million to him for next season, but they obviously were not willing to do that. And so I think that, the Cowboys have realized that they made some mistakes with Leighton Vander Esch and with Jalen Smith. And while you can't undo them, you can start to plan for the future. And so Micah feels like a step towards the future. Jabril Cox feels like supplementing that plan in the future. And so it feels like the Cowboys are just acknowledging that they stepped in it a little bit with other players. They had some nice times. Everybody had some fun, and they made some memories. But Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are not viable options for the future.
So as this training camp has gone on there with the Cowboys, and you mentioned the one preseason game, another one, of course, coming up tonight, like who's flashed, who has maybe turned some heads in Cowboy training camp so far?
The most interesting name has been a player who opted out last year. Right after Mike McCarthy took over, the Cowboys signed a veteran cornerback, Maurice Kennedy, who had really just kind of had a cup of coffee with the New York Jets. And last year, prior to the pandemic really taking off, everybody was just kind of like, who is this guy? Nobody really understood him. Pro Football Focus and their metrics thought highly of him, granted, off of a limited sample size in 2019, but he did opt out. So he was somebody that I think a lot of people forgot about, might be too strong, but were discounting. I think a lot of people, when they made 53-man rosters and stuff, were not planning on him being part of it, but he has really impressed. He might, outside of Trayvon Diggs, he's probably looked like the best corner on the team. So much so that, it's fair to wonder if Anthony Brown's job is in jeopardy. Maurice Kennedy is kind of been the guy who's been most magnetic towards the ball throughout camp. He had an interception off of Matthew Stafford when the Cowboys had their joint practice with the Rams. And so a lot of people want to see that happen in an actual preseason game, not just a joint practice. But he has definitely been the guy that's kind of come from nowhere these last few weeks.
Key to this whole thing offensively is Zeke Elliott and that offensive line. A couple of years ago, the offensive line's considered maybe one of the best in recent memory, and now it feels like that's crumbling a little bit. Where's the offensive line? Zach Martin, La'el Collins, where do they stand up front? Because you've got to protect the massive investment you just made in Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think that they are probably like the 10th best offensive line in the NFL if I had to rank them. They're not who they were at their peak, and but they're still very good. But their flaw is that they are they're not the house that the one little piggy built out of twigs, but I think a strong enough huff and puff could blow them all down. And you're talking about two tackles in Tyron Smith and La'el Collins that played 2 of 32 possible games last year. And right now, the Cowboys don't seem to have a viable swing tackle option. They do have Ty Nsekhe, who they signed this offseason, but he did not look great last week against Pittsburgh. And so if either one of them goes down for any reason or another, it would seem like the Cowboys would be up a creek a little bit. The reality is that Tyron Smith is very likely going to miss time. He hasn't played a full regular season since 2015. And, Dak Prescott wasn't even on the team then, to kind of put that in perspective. And so it really does seem like a matter of if and not when. So the Cowboys have to be prepared for that. And, a great quarterback can help mitigate the loss of a tackle for a game or 2 or 3. But football is so tricky, and missing a player as important as that can really disrupt what you want to do. And so their offensive line is great, but the moment things don't go according to plan, which is pretty often in the NFL, that will be tested.
RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com, with us here on Ruskin and Zach. Has there been any talks of worst case scenario? Do they go and find a veteran quarterback? Because, they're not going anywhere, in my opinion, with DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert and any of these guys. If something happens with Dak Prescott and there is some time missed here, has there been any whispers at all? Is there anybody out there they could look at?
I wouldn't say whispers as much as like shouts from every direction. There are people, a lot of our readers want the Cowboys to do something at backup quarterback. And I think everyone has kind of accepted that Garrett Gilbert is QB2 for this team, and the Cowboys seem to like that option. He's been okay so far, certainly getting more opportunities with the first team with Dak Prescott not throwing. But outside of that, it is slim pickings. I don't think Ben DiNucci makes this roster. I don't think Cooper Rush makes this roster. And, obviously Dak Prescott goes down for, a long stretch of time. The season is in jeopardy. But, people forget and don't realize how important a QB2 is to the team. to Dak Prescott as an example, Kellen Moore, who was QB2 at the time in 2016, broke his ankle in training camp, and that opened the door for what was then a rookie Dak Prescott to become the backup quarterback for when Tony Romo got injured in Seattle to ultimately inherit the starting position. And so, I mean, obviously you care mostly about what happens to your starting quarterback, but and it's difficult. Some teams struggle to find just a top quarterback to start for them. And so you're getting greedy if you're asking for a top flight backup. You're getting beyond greedy if you're asking for a third option that is sustainable and viable. But yeah, I mean, it's at a point now where Ben DiNucci, I think, is hindering other players' opportunities to shine. I imagine tonight we're going to see a full second half or so of DiNucci, and I think that's unfair to some of the lower-level receivers and tight ends that are trying to show what they can do against the Cardinals or whoever.
Yeah. There is a television show going on around this team, and I understand the Cowboys are a circus anyway, but I'm curious, I mean, are the players aware that it's going on? Are you aware of it? Because you're out there every day, and have you been on yet?
No, but I mean, I think that this is par for the course for the Cowboys. Obviously I wasn't there and not a part of it, but I feel like it might have been a larger culture shock for, say, the Cleveland Browns 3 years ago when they were on, or the Raiders when they were on during their season 2 years ago, and just because they're not necessarily used to that same level of attention. But I mean, this is pretty normal for the Cowboys, just to have cameras in every direction, to feel like they're under a microscope, and so. It's more people than usual watching. So you go from, 10 million people watching to 10.2 million people watching. The difference is kind of negligible to them.
Yeah. All right. Well, it'll be interesting tonight. Well, unless DiNucci plays the entire second half. But most people will be asleep by then, probably. Cowboys-Cardinals tonight. RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com. He's got you covered there. Thank you, RJ.
Thanks a lot, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right. DiNucci in the second half? Yui. This is why we drink. Holy moly.
Don't confuse him with Bonucci, who was the Black Hand in Godfather 2.
No. This is a guy who should not be playing professional quarterback in the NFL. I mean,
he can't throw up.
No.
He's not good.
My dad would say he can't play dead in a cowboy movie.
The start of the season is just around the corner, and if you're into sports betting, Bet Online is where you should go to win some money today. Whether it's live bets during games or future bets on who you think will win the championship, Bet Online has all the latest odds, news, and information for all your online sports betting needs. Visit the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So before the next big game or before the season starts, head on over to Bet Online and start playing today. That's Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts.